I'm like that intro got me feeling like I should do a 90s kind of rap, it's like, what's up, love, how you doing? What I mean, no, nah, but no,
Do
how
not
y'all
quit your
doing?
day job.
Thanks to my day job, right? Nah, but welcome to the Fake Football Analysts. I'm your boy Hollywood Ray with my man Aaron Cass and Christian Cruz for the Giant Topic, fellas. How we doing tonight?
Doing good. Can't wait to talk some ball with y'all. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, as y'all know, it's draft season. In the real world, it may be draft season for another reason, but we ain't gonna get into that. So we're gonna get into a draft that we want to talk about. That's the NFL draft. So for our listeners, Christian came up with a great idea for us to go through the first 15 picks. So like I said, Aaron will have picks 1, 4, 7, 10, and 13. I'll have picks 2, 5, 8, 11, and 14. And then Christian will have 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. So I know y'all have been on Pro Football Focus. For those that listen to us, you probably have done a million mock drafts by now. So we're gonna do our best to give who we think is gonna go in the top 15. Let us know in the comments who y'all think may slip, who y'all think is gonna get moved up. There's always someone that gets a lot of crazy hype going into the draft, good or bad. And we'll talk about that later as well. But Aaron, since you do have the first pick, you are on the clock with the Raiders. So dun, 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 dun. With the first pick in the 2026 draft, Aaron Davis, who do you pick?
Quarterback Ty Simpson from Alabama. It's Fernando Mendoza, unfortunately.
I feel like that would be so. Oh my god! Like, remember they drafted Ray Guy in the first round before. Yeah. They drafted Sebastian Janikowski, so we laugh about it because it seems far fetched. But like, they can. If there's any team that can give us an old switcheroo, it is Vegas, and they can say, "Hey, you know what, Ty Simpson? We've seen him in workouts privately. We feel like he's the guy to lead us, not just to the right now, but for the future." Like that would be wild. But I'm gonna let that go. So I'm now on the clock with the Jets. And this pick was pretty easy for me because I felt like they've gone defense at the top when they needed to. So from the Leonard Williams to the Sauce Gardners. So with the second pick in the 2026 draft, I said they draft Caleb Downs, safety.
Wow.
After they go for that reach and they get him there at number 2. Yep.
Wow.
That's definitely gonna shake up my mock right there.
Yeah. I was kind of nervous because I was like, if he picks who I think that he's going to pick, it's going to shake up my draft. And thankfully, he did not. So with me picking as the Arizona Cardinals in this mock draft, I have them selecting Arvell Reese, linebacker out of Ohio State. I mean, just a freak athlete. I mean, he really is, in my opinion, I think what Arizona needs, because I don't think they're going to take a quarterback at number 3. I think for this draft, that's just a little too rich. Still a raw player, but I think that, he has such a high ceiling and, he has elite traits. And, Arizona, they have a pretty solid defense, but they need an edge rusher. So I think this is a nice pick for them.
I still think he's Vernon Golston 2.0, but that's all right. With the fourth pick, see, now I have a lot of options. Tennessee Titans. I'm gonna go David Bailey, Texas Tech. I feel like Robert Saleh needs that linebacker. He's not a hybrid. I feel like he could be a Fred Warner-esque, and I think that's gonna help him out with his defense.
Oh my God, you guys are just throwing curveballs I hope the draft is like this, man.
It's all Hollywood Ray's fault. If he didn't pick Caleb Downs number 2, I knew I was going to pick at 4. But since you wanted to throw that curveball, it threw my draft all in a whack.
I didn't want to make it, not to say that it was going to be super predictable, but like pretty much everyone had the same 1 through 5, even like across, like whether it be like the Mel Kipers or Tommy McShay's, whatever. Like I'm like, there's absolutely going to be a reach in that top 8, top 10. Like absolutely. So I know Downs had the he had some injury history, obviously, but I'm like, once again, you're the Jets. You don't have the you don't have the equity to say, hey, we're not going to take this type of guy. Once again, it worked with Leonard Williams. It worked with Sauce Gardner for a little bit. So I say, why not? Even Jamal Adams, when they got back in, it makes sense. So.
Don't mess this one up now. Now you have the Giants. Don't mess us up.
So I had two different selections here, but I think this is not the sexy pick, but I think about obviously you feel like you have the quarterback in the future with Jackson Dart. Obviously you have Malik Neighbors, you have Scatterbo. You brought in Isaiah Likely, you brought in what was the fullback name? Ricard?
Yeah, Ricard.
Yeah. I feel like you have to go up front here. So with the 5th pick in the 2026 draft, going with tackle Caden Proctor from Alabama.
Ooh,
What?
wow.
Out of all the tackles, you know what? Thank God this isn't real. Aaron, I'm not gonna lie, that might be up there with how people responded to the Daniel Jones pick. Oh my God.
Yep. Yeah, I'm feeling it. I am feeling Daniel Jones right there.
So hold on. Since we want to attack that pick,
hold
on. Look who we signed though. He brought in Daniel, Falafel, whatever the hell his name is, who was the worst lineman ever. So bringing in Caden Proctor already is an upgrade. Don't do that. Don't do that. He signed the worst lineman of all time. On Pro Football Focus, he signed to y'all team. So you're gonna be doing this all year. What you just said, Aaron, you're gonna be doing that all year. Not because of Caden Proctor, but because of Daniel. Like, he's gonna be the problem. And every time you're on here this year, Christian, y'all are gonna be talking about him saying, I can't believe he let that guy get to the middle again. Oh my God. So no, you protect the blind side or whatever, you get the guy a tackle and you go from there. Once again, if we were doing round 2, I would just say get the guy from Iowa, Gunnar Durkin. I think he's gonna be great. But we're not doing round 2. We're only doing round 1. So I went with the guy from Alabama.
The Giants need a guard, and if they're going to go offensive lineman, I prefer it be
I would have went with Maunoa, put him at guard, and then when Illuminor leaves, put him back at tackle.
Hey, listen, I like it because it's different. So far with your 2 picks, I don't think I nor Aaron or anyone in the chat watching this, I don't think they saw those picks coming. So I give you credit for going outside of the box. Because hey, but listen, if you want to wait for people to burn down MetLife, that would be the pick.
Yes, it
would. At number 6, I am the Cleveland Browns, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't sure how the draft was going to play out because I wasn't sure if Jeremiah Love was going to fall. But then I thought to myself, Cleveland, they've been rebuilding this damn offensive line. I mean, Shador, didn't matter who was back there. I mean, they took a lot of sacks. I was going to go offensive lineman here, but I said, screw it. I'm going wide receiver out of Ohio State, Carnell Tate, getting Shador / Deshaun / Dylan Gabriel, their number 1 wide receiver.
Bernie Kosar, like they don't.
I mean, call up everybody. I mean, shoot, call up everybody. Finally get their number 1 wide receiver. I think at this point, I mean, there's not really a ton of confidence in Jerry Jeudy, and outside of that, there really isn't a lot of options at wide receiver. I like their tight end room right now, so I think this is the right move for Cleveland. And you could argue Jeremiah Love, but hey, they need a wide receiver back. So that's my pick right there.
Yeah. So with Washington, number 7, I was gonna pick Caleb Downs, but he already went number 2, so that kind of hurts me. So I'll have to go with another Ohio State linebacker, Sonny Styles, going to Washington. It's the best. It's the best player available for him, and Adam Peters is gonna try to draft him.
Good job, Hollywood. Good job.
You messed it up. I want to pick Caleb Downs.
I don't. Yeah, but even I don't see. There's another team I think would get him, but we'll bring it up later on. But that's higher than I thought. But okay, I mean, I like to pick for them. I mean, they need someone. Obviously, Wagner's getting older. Whatever other guys are getting older, they had the oldest team probably in the league. But okay.
Wait, before you go, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's so funny because when I was coming up with this list, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna make sure that Aaron doesn't have the Giants pick because I want someone that's not a Giants fan to make that pick, and I'm still so stuck on that pick. I'm regretting giving you the Giants pick, kind of wishing I was giving it to Aaron, like I was going to initially. But continue with your pick. Who we got at number 8? Who do we got?
Narlands.
Yeah, so I think they go wide receiver here.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the kid out of USC, Mekhi Lemon.
Oh, it's perfect for them.
Yeah. Yep.
That is perfect. It disrupts my draft board because if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs, if I'm Brett Veach, I'm screaming to every god under every religion because that's who I wanted at number 9 if I'm Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pivot from here and take a player who should not be falling this far, and I'm shocked that he is. I'm going to take Jeremiah Love. There's going to be people
that's actually
saying,
really good.
Yeah, you have people that are going to say, well, they just signed Kenneth Walker. What sense does it make? I think it makes perfect sense. I really does. I think, a running back room filled with Jeremiah Love, who, regardless of whether it's through the pass or through the run, he is a weapon. He's an instant touchdown waiting to happen. Plus, you complement him with Kenneth Walker. I think that's a great room. Shocked that he's fallen to 9, but couldn't get the guy I wanted. I got an even better prospect. A nice position as well.
I think most have Love falling to Kansas City anyways. Like I didn't think it was gonna be like an Ashton Jeanty, situation like last year. Even though I wouldn't be surprised if he did go that high at 6 or whatever. I just feel like it just makes too much sense for him to be in Kansas City. Pacheco really hasn't worked out the way they thought he was going to work out. Obviously, yeah, you signed Kenneth Walker, but we're in an NFL where the platoon system is just something. It just happens. The bell cow running backs are not happening anymore. You're not having a Adrian Peterson, running for 300 times at 1,400 yards, whatever. Like that's not happening now. Obviously, Derrick Henry's probably the last of that, but even him, he's worn down from where he was. So, really, that position should be an embarrassment of riches. So the more you can get, really, the better. Honestly. So, love that pick there. Love it. Pun intended. Love it.
Literally.
It's wild because I was looking at Aaron's pick with Washington, and I thought he'd go Jeremiah Love there if he didn't pick him with the Tennessee Titans. I'm shocked. But you know what? I really do like your guys' selections. And I know, we're going to go on to the next pick here, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, like you said, I mean, I do feel like there are some teams where they're still like that, where they do have that main back, whether it's like Atlanta with Bijan. The Lions just traded away David Montgomery, so now it's going to be the Jahmyr Gibbs show, full on. Same with Philly, Saquon. So there are teams that still do it, but I think we're going to get back to that, if I'm being honest with you. I think a lot of teams, especially when you look at the playoffs, that's something they really do value is having that dynamic running back and having a good running game. So, if you can get 2 of them, right, with Kenneth Walker and Jeremiah Love, I mean, talk about a relief that puts on Patrick Mahomes that passing game too.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so I have Cincinnati, and this draft is not going the way I thought, which is fine. I'm actually okay with it. They have a lot of holes. I really don't trust Al Golden as defensive coordinator, so I'm going to have to pivot and go Francis Maunoga, offensive tackle from Miami, because you got to protect Joe Burrow. That's your best asset. He's only had 1 year where he's been healthy, and that was a Super Bowl run. He needs all the protection he can get.
I like it. That's actually a good pick.
I was gonna pick Reuben Bain, but it's just you gotta protect Joe Burrow.
No, I agree with you 1,000%. And it's crazy now thinking about it, how Reuben Bain is still on the board. I mean, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about something involving Reuben Bain, I'm sure, a little later. Maybe that plays into why he's falling.
Yeah. So it's me at 11, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, I had a wide receiver here and I had a safety here. But I mean, when you've lost Tyreek Hill, you've lost Jalen Waddle could be a trade to Denver. You may have to reach here at wide receiver. I think they go Denzel Boston for Washington at 11.
I would have thought Jordan Tyson.
I did too. I thought Jordan Tyson. Wow.
Yeah. So I think. So but I think that's right. I think they go for a reach there. Once again, I do think Tyson's better, but I think they go for a reach there and go get him at 11.
That's a good pick, and I think for the value as well. I think it's good. I think that's a good pick. I think if Jordan Tyson didn't have the health concerns that he has, he's probably the pick there. Because I think he's a better player. But when you factor in the injuries, I mean, it's kind of hard to kind of justify picking him right there. So I get it. I'm number 12 with the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm sitting in a very good spot. I could go with the secondary. I could go with, Reuben Bain. I'm having some issues with George Pickens. Trade him off, maybe get another number 1. Maybe take Jordan Tyson right here. I'll be honest with you, fellas. I'm not going to go with my initial pick. And the reason why I'm not going to go with my initial pick is because I did not think the player who I would like for them to have would be here. So the player I'm going to pivot and select is Reuben Bain, Miami Hurricane, one of Aaron's guys. Dallas, listen, I mean, they traded away their best defensive player. You could argue the best player in Micah Parsons. They need someone to replace that production. And listen, he's a Cowboy. He's a Cowboy, especially with this other stuff going on with him behind, obviously legally behind the scenes. I mean, he just fits what a Cowboy is. They don't give a damn about them short arms. They said everything is big out here in Texas. This defense, it's going to be bigger with you in this lineup. We need you here. So I like it. I'm going to take Reuben Bain, and I'm very happy that I found me a stud to add to my defensive line.
It kind of hurts, but it's respectable. They do need the
y'all let it fall to me.
So.
I don't want them. I listen. I don't
want them either. But yeah, no respect. Well, I have the Rams next, and I was almost thinking defensively, but if you think about it, you got Devontae kind of on his last leg. You got Puka Nacua, who I don't know what's going on with him. So I was going to pick, if he was still there, Mekhi Lemon, but obviously he's gnarling. So I'm going to have to pick the next available guy. And I'm going to go Greg Cooper Jr. from Indiana, receiver. Nice, big, strong guy. If you want to get rid of Devontae Adams, ship him off and try to get some picks during draft day, that could be a solid number 2. Or if you want him in the slot, that's still pretty good. They're trying to win it for Matthew Stafford, so why not?
I like that.
Yeah, I mean he was good in the national championship game too. So yeah, I mean I like that for them. I mean the way y'all read about Tyson, I thought that maybe he fall there to the Rams.
It's just the health.
Right, but I mean that falls in line there. Cooper Kupp, we're gonna call entries like Devontae Adams, but it's like it fits in line with what they have over there. So I think that would be good. But no, either way, I think that'd be a good move, for them. So now I'm back on the clock with Baltimore. And this almost seems like a home run, in my opinion, at 14. Because I didn't know if this guy would still be there. I think he kind of moved up a lot of the draft boards after his pro day. But I'm gonna go defense for the Ravens. And I'm going to go with the safety from Toledo, Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I think that's a home run at 14 for them. You put him with Kyle Hamilton and you let them wreak havoc back there. I think that's a home run pick for them. If he's there at 14, I said you get him.
I thought for sure you're going to go Kenyon Sadiq, tight end from Oregon. I thought for sure that would be great for Lamar Jackson.
It would be. It'd be a nice Isaiah like.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'll take it. Because even with that being said, I'm feeling good. And fellas, you want to know why I'm feeling good? Because I have the 15th pick as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's similar to the Dallas Cowboys. There is a player that has fallen into my lap that should not have fallen this far. And I am shocked that he has fallen this far. I'm going to go find my replacement in the secondary, and I am taking LSU defensive back Mansour Delay. I am getting my shutdown corner. I am tired of Bryce Young's 5'9" looking ass throwing bombs at my secondary. I am tired of Michael Penix and him not taking off his do-rag throwing bombs against my secondary. It ends with Mansour Delay. You got to get him. You're getting a true lockdown potential corner. He's instinctive. He is disciplined. I think he can fit a variety of different schemes. I mean, he draws up a lot of NFL comparisons, similar to Trent McDuffie, who the Chiefs just traded for a first-round pick. So I'm taking, in my eyes, the best quarterback in this entire draft class. I'm getting Mansour Delay. Book it at number 15.
I was thinking that or Gerard McCoy for that team, and you couldn't go wrong with either or.
That was my initial pick. But again, I'm seeing all these players fall because it's crazy because for Dallas, I had them selected Mansour Delay, and I had the Bucs selected Gerard McCoy. But you guys went in different routes, which I love because it shook up the draft and it made me change on the whim. You know, so it's very almost real-esque, if you will. So
you know who I could we said him a little bit earlier, but you know who I think is really built for Dallas though? It's Tony Styles. I think he is built. He is built for that. That's a prototype that they've had there from Charles Haley to DeMarcus Ware. Like that is he would be a problem, I think, down there personally. But I get why y'all wouldn't want to see him down there. But I think that he would be phenomenal in the Cowboy uniform. I really do.
I mean, he was who I was hoping you'd pick at 5. But damn.
Yeah. But I guess because of what I've seen, even I mean, granted, it didn't work well in the playoffs, obviously, but like I was even screaming on this show, you got to get the tackle, and I kept saying, Aaron can tell you, I was like, you got to get Will Campbell from LSU, and I was saying that long before they got him, and on both shows that I'm on, and I just believe that once you feel that you got the quarterback, which I think Jackson Dart is the guy, you got to work up front. You build up the middle, old school mentality. You build up the middle, then you spread out. You have the cornerstone wide receiver, Malik Neighbors. I believe I believe in Scatterbo as well. I just believe that you build up the middle, then you build out. Because I've seen it for 24 years here. Take care of up front, then you go get what's outside, and you'll have sustained success. So
I agree.
It's not sexy. That's what I'm saying. So that's fine for those that listen to this later on and say, how could you have picked the tackle at 5? I'm like, think of Cincinnati if they had picked Penei Sewell at 5 in 2021. And people say, well, how can you argue with Chase has been? Okay, they got to the Super Bowl, great. I didn't know they was walking down, Riverfront. Well, I'm showing my age by calling it Riverfront, but whatever it's called now, Paul Brown Stadium, whatever it's called now. They didn't walk by that stadium with a trophy. They got an AFC title, but they didn't walk out of there with a Super Bowl trophy. So who knows? Maybe if you protect the guy, maybe some other guys would have came there and played with Joe Burrow too. So maybe Chase
and that's why I picked Francis. That's why I picked them. Is you got to protect your best product on the field. You've only been healthy once. Got to. Yep.
And like I said, if we were doing the second round thing, that guard from Iowa, Gunnar Dinkins, I think his name Durkins, whatever. It's like I think he's a New York That's a Northeast type of guy. So if he was there with y'all, if he was up in Buffalo, he was here in New England, like he is a Northeast type of guy. So that's once again, but we're not doing a mock draft for second round. That's why I didn't go that route. Otherwise, if he was that high, absolutely, I'll just say get him at guard because he looks great. Even Max I Nature, I forget I'm saying his name wrong, but from Boston College, like really good, really strong up front. Would be a strong pick for any of our teams. So
sure. I agree. Well, I mean, that wraps up our picks 1 through 15. We went through it pretty quick. So,
yeah. The draft is next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Yeah. So we can give a 15 to 30. Before next week. So we have time for that. So that's fine. That works.
Yeah. We can make this the mock 1.0.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So. But so I seen that Reuben Bain got in trouble. I just didn't know what fully had happened. So
I can catch everyone up to speed.
Good.
Oh yeah. So I have the article here. It's out of ESPN, and essentially what it states is former Miami defensive end Reuben Bain Jr. was involved in an auto accident back in 2024. In which a passenger later died because of injuries sustained in the crash. Now, Reuben Bain was cited for careless driving for the accident that occurred at 4 a.m. local time on March 17, 2024, and this also took place in Miami. Now, the crash reports, it alleges that Reuben Bain was driving with a couple Miami Hurricanes players as well. Wesley, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong.
Basante.
Nyla Kelly, along with a Georgia woman named Destiny Betts. He essentially rear-ended another car, veered into a concrete barrier, then ricocheted to another barrier before coming to a rest on the shoulder of the highway. Bain was taken to Ryder. I know this hospital, Ryder Trauma Center in Miami, and that's per the red optional. So the league has been aware of these charges for quite some time now, so this isn't nothing new that they didn't know. The article states that the league has been aware of this for quite some time. Let me see here. So yeah, he was in his sophomore year when this accident had happened. So my question to you guys is, one, like, what are your thoughts on the article? And two, does this affect Reuben Bain and his draft stock? Does he fall later than people have him prior to this incident? Does he not, considering that teams have known about this for quite some time? Where do you guys stand with it? Aaron, I'll get your thoughts first, if that's okay.
So I did see that the family doesn't want any publicity that people are thinking is going to happen. So I saw an article on that one as well. So for me, I don't think he's going to be a top 5 draft pick. I think he's still going to be a top 10. And if you look at it too, Jalen Carter did the same thing and they won a national championship. I believe he was going like 100 miles per hour. I believe it's the same thing. He hit into either a car or a barrier, and it did end up unaliving the person that he was with. And I believe he also had a Georgia football player with him. So he was still a first round pick. Now, I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying that, especially everyone's trying to make this a big story. And you could even see the Lions GM was like, yeah, we already knew about this. It's not changing anything about Reuben Bain. I still think Reuben Bain's a good kid because you don't like that. I'm not trying to put a Band-Aid over, but that was really the only incident that happened with him in Miami. You never really heard anything else. And plus, it kind of makes sense why his sophomore year wasn't as great as his ACC freshman year. So now I kind of understand the picture, what's going on with him. But I still think Reuben Bain is a first round pick. I just don't think he's top 5, where he goes Tennessee or Giants or whatever, however you want to do. I still think he's going to be a top 10 in the league.
So I do think it affected his stock to an extent, because even with us, he fell to 12 here, right? Where a lot of people had him in the top 7. So I do think that there will be some, some type of punishment in that regard where he will fall, but not out of the top 15, right? I think that your talent makes room for you. So that's just your talent makes room. So if your talent does what it does on the field, then teams will say, okay, we understand about the checkered past or your mistakes that you made, but if we get you in our program, so to speak, then we feel that we can develop you not just as a player but as a man. And I mean, once again, it's obviously it sucks, what happened to that individual. Driving to Miami is crazy, anyways. Like the 836, 441. Like it's I-95. Like it's wild out there. I've seen some stuff. Unfortunately, I had a student down there who lost their life on 441 and 79th to a car accident because they used to do like the drifting out there, and they would drift out there on 441 and someone hit him. So so I definitely it definitely hits home when you hear stuff like that.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm hoping that although it was a tragic experience, I hope that it doesn't define his draft stock, but also define his career. We saw this with Henry Ruggs a few years ago. Obviously, he's out the league now. But if you have reconciled, if you have been rehabilitated, shout out to Shawshank Redemption. If you've been rehabilitated, then you should be given a second chance, depending on the crime. Let me put that caveat out there. Depending on the crime, you should be given a second chance. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I feel a little conflicted because when the situation with Jalen Carter had took place, I was very critical on Jalen Carter because at the end of the day, despite how talented these people are, and a mistake was had, a life was still lost, and a lot of people, and I tend to do it myself, so I'm a little bit of a hypocrite too, will kind of look over certain things like that if it's going to help their team win, right? You'll be cheering them on Sundays if they get a sack or if they have a touchdown or if they do a crazy play, but still take into consideration the things that they have done. I think it was an honest mistake. With that being said, by Reuben Bain, he's young. I don't think that he did it in a malicious intent kind of way. I'm sure if he could have that moment back, he would love to have that moment back. Now, considering that the article states that teams have known about this, I don't think necessarily he'll fall. I've been actually kind of going back and forth in my mind because we know every single year. I think it's hold on one second. I think it's just you and me right now. Not Hollywood. Boom, so we switch that over. I came prepared, so we're good. I think for me, I don't think teams are going to overthink it. I think they've known about the situation. They see a potential elite player, and it makes sense for a team wanting to take a chance on it. Now, I think again, what team is that? I'm not too sure, but at the end of the day, a life was still lost, and I'm sure he feels some remorse, but I always feel conflicted in these situations, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, totally understandable. But like you said, just hopefully it doesn't change too much in his future, and hopefully that, like I said, he's not only just made peace with the family, but also made peace with himself. I think sometimes, you can let that haunt you when something of that magnitude happens. So hopefully he's been able to reconcile and find peace for himself as well and forgive himself, because that's something that can get away with you for a lifetime. So. So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's a good transition into the last topic that we have here at hand. And this was something that you felt. I know you had felt pretty strong about. I wanted to do some research myself into the situation because I was actually unaware. anytime something pertaining to this gentleman comes up, I automatically tune him out because I actually hate the piece of shit. But I want to give you the floor here, Hollywood. If you give your thoughts on addressing Mr. Jason Whitlock.
So there's been a few think pieces behind this, so it's not my intent to have this whole monologue about Jason Whitlock and what I think of him. Do I agree with most of his takes? No. Does he make sense sometimes? Sure, but like Stephen A. Smith would say, a dead clock is right twice a day. Right. So he has moments. I think he was respected in his industry at some point, highly respected when he worked at Kansas City, but was always someone that wanted to go against the grain and not be looked at as a sellout. But funny how that goes. So, he's made comments about Joy Taylor. He's made comments now about Diana Rossini, who got caught really with her hand in the cookie jar with Mike Vrabel. We can't say allegedly because the photos are real. So much that she resigned as we're recording this today on a Tuesday. She resigned from the Athletics, saying that she doesn't want this moment to define her career, and that she walks away with integrity, so on and so forth. But the point I wanted to address that Whitlock mentioned, because some stuff I did agree with, I won't get into that part. But some stuff, what I disagreed with him saying that, basically him saying that women didn't belong in media, that women can't compete. And it made me think about this show. So we've been on the air now. September will make it 6 years that we've been doing this show. And when it was me, Aaron, and Shayi, we had our very first guest was a woman named Cherise Jones, and at that time, we focused on sports, on music guests, and then people that were running their own business, right? So Cherise Jones was a music artist. So I'm using your real name, Isam, but Sasha, sorry, I'm using your real name. I still love you. Don't beat me up if you hear this. Sasha came on here. My friend Armel came on here. My friend Kenya came on here talking about it. My friend Alex came on here. This other lady, Rachel Whitaker Jones, who covers stuff for the New Orleans Saints, like she came on here. Chelsea Sherrod, who does stuff for the Giants and does for SNY Network, and now is with TNT, and was at Neston here in Boston, has come on our show. We are not where we are on this platform without the help of women. So I wholeheartedly disagree with the notion that they can't compete. They can't, do certain things when it comes to media, because there's some that can blow, us men out the water, whether it be with their delivery, whether it be with their knowledge, and even just how they interview people, right? Like Taylor Rooks is a phenomenal interview. Even though I don't always agree with Malika Andrews. Malika Andrews is a really good interview. Like, so it's just like there's a lot of women out here killing it. And, even locally here, Trendy Kuzneric, well, name is Trendy Casey now, but Trendy Kuzneric, Casey, like, phenomenal. So when he makes a blanket statement like that can't compete and they only are offering one thing, and it's out of pocket. And it just, I wanted to put it out there because, like I said, it bothered me. It wasn't about giving him credence. It wasn't about giving him more of a platform, because his platform was way bigger than mine, obviously. But I'd be remiss to not address it when there's been so many ladies that have been on this show. Most of our guests have been women. There's no way I could sit there and hear a statement and not address and not acknowledge who's been on the show, who's contributed to the show, and who I believe will contribute to the show in the months and hopefully years to come.
Yeah, I agree. It's, I'm a little newer to the squad, but at the same time, I can talk about my own experiences where they pretty much align with what you guys are talking about as well. Some of these smartest human beings that I've met in not just in the sports space, but in music, in podcasting, in fashion, in arts, are women. They are just as equal as men are, in my opinion. And I think it's great that you guys have had numerous, wonderful women on this podcast come and really help this podcast and help push it forward. And if we're talking about in the big media space, there's some, like you said, Taylor Rooks. I mean, she's a phenomenal, interview. Same with Ashley Nicole Moss. A lot of people, they go there for her looks, which, don't get me wrong, no disrespect. She's a very beautiful woman, but she's extremely intelligent. And I think that's something that, a lot of, let's be honest here, men are going to overlook that. Where they're just like, oh, this person's so beautiful, blah, 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 but aren't taking into the consideration that they are extremely intelligent and that they're probably smarter than their favorite, podcast host or analyst host.
Right.
And I think that they're a pillar, in the community. It's a whole other conversation too. If we're going to talk about, Black and brown, whether it's analysts, for women in that industry, whether it's podcast hosts. I mean, we can have like a whole podcast talking about that, but it's a real thing. And that's why, when I went and I saw his comment, I was like, this is a typical Jason Whitlock, take. It's some of his points are like, okay, but then the rest of it, you're just like, there's no way like you actually think this. Like there's no, but he does, and it's like, okay, but like, damn, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, to be transparent, like, I thought the Joy Taylor peanut butter comment was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious.
I thought it was funny. Yeah. It was out of pocket, but it was hilarious.
It was on brand for him. And yeah, Joy Taylor fine. She is. Period. She's fine.
She is.
Fine. Like,
but she's also very intelligent too, ladies.
No doubt.
Let's focus. She's very intelligent.
I couldn't be. I probably would act different on the show if she came on. I'm just being honest.
Oh yeah, I take a little bit more time with my curls.
Yeah.
If I'm just keeping it a stack with you, I would.
I mean, listen, my and this is not because I'm crushing on her. So what I'm saying is what I'm about to say. But like no, I'm saying for who I'm about to say. Like I felt that way when Chelsea Sherrod came on. Like I thought that she. Once again, she was just so gracious with us because once again, she was already doing TV. Like she's by far been our biggest guest, and I thought it was dope that she took the time to come on twice, right? Wow. And awesome. Right, so I'm just like, I haven't DM'd her in a while. I'm going to soon because I keep saying it, but we haven't had the time. I know Chelsea, you've been busy because you've been doing college basketball. You've been doing the stuff with the Knicks. I know you did stuff with the Giants and the Jets on SNY with Bart Scott. But in his words, I can't wait. I can't wait, Chelsea, for you to come back on because you killed it on here. And we love talking to you. I know you love talking to us. And I'd be outnumbered. Could it be 3 Giants fans to 1? But that's okay. I can hold my own.
Smart lady.
But hey, you got your start. It wasn't her start, but you did work in Boston, so you know how it is to be in Boston and New York. So give us our due. When you do come back on, but like I said, I definitely just had to I had to make sure that I got highlighted because, like I said, it's really women in general have worked so hard to be in any space, right? Not just professionally, but just in personal, and not just being someone that's making sandwiches and having picnics, and getting laundry ready. And once again, although there may be nothing wrong with doing that, but if you're able to use your brain and use your talent for good, why not? Are there some bad apples that ruin it for some? Of course there is. But to me, the good outweighs the bad. And instead of only highlighting what we deem to be bad, we should highlight on what's good. And who's bringing, like you said, I forgot about Ashley Nicole Moss. Like I've seen her do a few things. Like I know she was on the show with Cam Newton, the 106 in Sports. I think they only had that for one season, unfortunately. But yeah, she does
canceled because of him.
Yeah, right.
Freaky ass man.
Even with him too, right? Because people, Ryan Clark and some others got on him about that. I had no, just like I said, I had no issue with him being on, having Jason Whitlock on the show, none at all. Because if you listen to it initially, he brought up the beef that Jason Whitlock had with him. Then he said, "Well, since you're here, Peggy, Jason Whitlock, since you're here, you got pressure with my boy Stephen A. So I got to know, what is your problem with Stephen A?" And that's when it got into him talking about Stephen A being a fraud and and people was like, "Oh, he's not loyal." And it's like he talked about his beef with Jason first, and their beef, and they talked it out there like men. He did what actual journalists are supposed to do. You ask the hard questions. Now, if you want to say, "Hey, that's my friend, so watch how you speak about them," like, for instance, I've known Aaron now for 15 years. I may joke around with Aaron, but certain people have to watch what they say about Aaron. Don't get punched in the mouth. It's just something that's my guy. And once again, we're just becoming cool, but my loyalty works like that. Like I'm like, you can't say it about Christian in front of me. The guy you talking about, I don't know about that guy. I know about the guy that's come on the show, that's giving love. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that. I'm good. So you can't do that. So that in that respect, I understand. But at the same time, your platform is your platform. You can't be mad at who's being brought on as a guest on his platform. It wasn't like, "Oh, this is being sponsored by ESPN. This is not sponsored by FS1. It's not sponsored by, it might be sponsored by The Volume. I don't know." But it's just like it's not being sponsored by any of the major networks. So if that's the case, then so be it. But I had no issue with that at all. I think that people blew that out of proportion, which I get.
My issue with Cam, because I love Cam and I love his podcast. My only issue that I had with Cam was when he went on, I forget which podcast it was, and essentially he was saying that he doesn't think that he could, be friends with the opposite sex without wanting to sleep with them on his mind. Which then a week later led to the podcast that he had with Ashley Nicole Moss getting canceled. And she had commented when that tweet of that snippet from the podcast of Cam Newton's quote went viral. She quote tweeted it herself, and she was like, "Well, this is fucking awkward." And then again, like a week later, it got canceled. So that was my only issue with Cam. I've never had any. I just wanted to make that clear. I've never had any other issues with Cam. Me personally, how my mind has always been wired, anyone that knows me, is that if I have a difference of an opinion with someone, I want to hear that entire opinion out. Because I'm either going to leave one or two ways. I'm either going to be more firm in what I believe in, or I'm going to leave with a new perspective and understand where you're coming from. And who knows? It might open up a different part of my brain that I initially wasn't, walking into this space with. So, that was really it. So I don't have a problem with him doing a episode with Jason Whitlock or whichever. I just a lot of times with Jason Whitlock himself, I don't be for his takes. I think a lot of them can be very ignorant, but some of them, like that Joy Taylor one, that shit was fun. I'm not going to sometimes you could be a funny dude. But like you said with Stephen A's comment, a broken clock is right twice. So
right, exactly. So we try to be right here more than twice a day. We try to be right all the time, but keep listening. We got more things on the way. But before we get out, any final words?
I just want to say I hope you guys enjoyed our mock draft. I thought that was a lot of fun. There was some curveballs from me and Aaron, that really shook up our draft. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Appreciate you guys, tuning in to hear our thoughts on the Reuben Bain situation and obviously, the Jason Whitlock situation. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully, I can be a part of the next episode, but appreciate you having me on, Hollywood.
Yes, sir. No, listen. You are It might have been unofficial before, but you definitely officially part of the crew now. So it's just a matter of just when we're able to do it. Obviously there'll be a lot more stuff.
Sure.
I'm gonna see because it is summertime and we can get into some other stuff. I know Aaron wants to focus on football, which I get. But there's so much stuff that there's gonna be able to talk about over the summer. So much. I mean, him and I both are baseball fans. I love the Red Sox. He loves the Mets. Obviously, we're getting to college football. Obviously, both of our teams. Are you a basketball fan at all?
Unfortunately, I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan.
Okay. All right. Wow.
But, so with that being said, I don't get to watch a lot of basketball.
Hey, listen, loyalty is key.
I've had this conversation with Aaron. You weren't here when I said it, but I'll say it here since you're here now. I can never switch my loyalty to any team. The Nets, they make it an argument where I'm just like, I do enjoy the sport of basketball. But I really hate watching this team.
And how old are you?
29.
29. Okay, so
but I come from a family of New York.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I was gonna say, I'm like, I would say you. I mean, granted, we were all three of us were kids, but we was a little bit older. Like, I'm old to remember when they got to the finals back-to-back years with Kidd and Kmart and Richard Jefferson and Lucius Harris and Terry Kittle and Owen Williams. So I remember that team. I remember the Devin Harris years, right, with Gerald Green and what's the name of the dude that was they was like Jarvis Hayes and I remember that era. And obviously, then Mikhail Prokhorov comes in and you get D. Will and you get Paul Pierce and KG and Jason Terry. And Joe Johnson, right? So you're like, oh, okay, like we got the big four, but it just happened that they were just all, well, except for Joe Johnson, was all past their prime. So they were good, right? And it got real shaky, real dicey in the in the playoffs. They just ran out of gas. And then now, thank you to the owner for giving us the picks that got us Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Because that basically set up us for the next decade and more. Barring any catastrophic injury again on either side. But yeah, no, like I said, I definitely want to get into that at some point. Because like I said, I love basketball, baseball, and football equally. And he won't talk about hockey right now because his Rangers, missed the playoffs, but it's been a down year for them, but my Bruins got in again. And they should have been as bad as the Rangers were this year. But, that's another show for another day. I'm sure he'll have something to comment on there, but that's fine. But my final words is like you said, I appreciate y'all listening. Appreciate y'all chiming in. The viewership is definitely going up. So y'all definitely starting to rock with us more. Once again, whether you give us 1 view, you give us 10,000 views, the joy is still the same. The appreciation is still the same. And, without y'all as an audience, none of this is possible. So continue to listen, continue to share, continue to give comments on what we don't know, and what you think we don't know, because it's all fun at the end of the day. So for Christian Cruz, I'm Hollywood Ray, and this has been another episode of Fake Football Analysts, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.